Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. This is Margot, and I usually like to talk about creepy history things and see how things in the past affect things in the present, or things in the present reflect what happened in the past. That kind of shit.
You know,
but
that shit.
But if you're new to the show, you should know that we always end the episode with somebody who is not a creep. So you don't leaving upset about the world. You okay?
Yes, the dogs started barking.
Oh.
They also have things to say about creeps of the past and the present.
We are always looking for suggestions for creeps and non-creeps, so great ways you can reach us is on social media. We do have a basic Facebook page. That's where people go to complain about our language. This is your warning. We use foul language in this program.
Fuck yeah. I'm going to swear so much in this one. Fuck, shit, damn.
It's going to be very ragey. Ragey Margot and Ragey Sonia are going to be out in force today.
Very activated.
We have a private Facebook group, and that's where the two of us are the most interactive. We encourage you to join us there if you are a Facebook person. Sonia only goes there just for this group. She doesn't even go there for much anything else.
No, it's the best group on Facebook.
And it's What a Creep podcast group. You do have to ask a few questions to join because it is private, but just promise to not be an asshole and you can come on in. And we just talk about creeps from the past to the present, but we also talk about pop culture, things happening in the news, that kind of thing. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at What a Creep Podcast. And
Correct.
We have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And if you would like some stickers, send us your address via email, and I will drop them in the mail for you. I just sent some to London, Sonia, recently. So
nice.
We're getting it out there. We want you to put those stickers on your laptops or whatever and have people say, what does that mean? And you could tell them all about us. That would be really, really cool.
So helpful.
Yes. Sonia, do you want to tell them about the website?
Yeah, go to whatacreeppodcast.com and it's everything you want to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. We have links to all of our past episodes there, and you can click that link and you open it up and it's a big blog post and it has all of our show notes in it because we source everything we do. We give everyone credit for the work that they do. So if you're looking for a deeper dive on any of our creeps, that's a great place to start. We also have a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and face masks and all that stuff. So do that. I heard that, do you guys have Trader Joe's in New York?
I was just there today.
Okay, I heard they released new tote bags and everyone's losing their shit. They're lining up and their concert tickets or something to get these new tote bags. But you could just order some tote bags that have What a Creep logo on them. You should just do that instead.
With our faces on them. It's amazing.
With our faces. Yeah. Or we have a couple of other cool designs that you could put on there, but you should do that. I just thought it was funny that people would line up for tote bags. Anyway, there's also a link to our Patreon. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Yes, Patreon. We are on, Sonia, this is the end of season 26 of the show.
Damn.
Right? We do put
That's
out 10 episodes
creeps.
for a season. Yes. We have our first 9 seasons on our Patreon wall that's paid only. And then we put out 2 bonus episodes a month. And those bonus episodes are video. So you can see our pusses. And we talk about
our pussies.
our pusses. That's that's a thing, right? Face?
She means our face. If you want to see other stuff, you have to go to our OnlyFans.
That's our OnlyFans.
Yeah, onlyfans.com/whatacreep. No, I'm kidding. We don't have an OnlyFans.
Yes, we do. We're right next door to Ellie from Below Deck. She's under the name Balkan Biscuit. Or Biscuit.
No.
Yeah, Balkan Biscuit. That's her name.
Is that really a thing?
It is really a thing.
I'm an episode behind. Good to know. All right.
We also put clips on there for free. Some stuff that's associated with the show we're working on, the episode we're working on, or our other show, Dorking Out. So you can sign up for Patreon for free if you want to. But we want to thank Aaron, who just joined this past week.
Thanks.
All these things help us with the costs of the show. Another way you can help us, though, is to leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Is it iTunes or Apple, or is it Good Pods, Spotify, whatever? If you could leave us stars that would be amazing. And we want to say thank you to Sasquatchitarian.
Yep.
For a 5-star review about our Neil Gaiman episode. And thank you so much.
We appreciate that. We really appreciate that. And I don't know what a Sasquatchitarian is. Is that someone who only eats Sasquatch?
I remember that from the $6 Million Man.
Or do they not eat Sasquatch?
No, the Sasquatch could eat you. I mean, but it doesn't eat people. It just kind of roams around campsites, apparently.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I understand.
Know.
I remember that from the $6 Million Man. We call him Yeti. You call him Sasquatch. I'm really old.
Well, Sasquatchitarian, go to our What a Creep group and post in there what that is, because I'm curious.
Or send us an email. And we've been getting really nice emails lately from people just saying how much they enjoy the show. It really makes us feel good. You know, it's just the two of us. We're not a part of some big network or anything. And we're not famous. Right. So we're really pleased when people reach out and pay attention. And I know we're both making heart faces at each other. Like, oh.
Yeah. We love it when people say that they love us.
Yes. Everyone needs a little bit of that, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Especially right now.
Especially right now, considering what's going on. We're based in the States, in case you didn't know. If you can't tell by our accents. We're in an election year in America. An election year, honestly, is like an LOL. It's usually these campaigns go now for about 1.5 to 2 years out.
It's ridiculous. It's been
fucking ridiculous.
Non-stop.
It's
campaign.
Upsetting. It's stressful. It's not fun. It has some peaks, but a lot of valleys.
Yep.
And there's a lot of bullshit that happens. Rhetoric gets ramped up and we hear really awful things. And we like to think like, when did this happen? Oh my God, this is so out of the blue. And I'm going to kind of give you a history lesson like, nah, this is very American. This has happened over and over again. And I'd really like it to stop. And this is like my intentions, which I'd like to set forward clearly to all of you. Understanding my privilege. I am a 3rd-generation Irish American. You could check my DNA. It's like all shamrocks and Guinness pints and shit like that. Like, I am coming to this from that perspective of, I knew my grandfather was an immigrant, my father's side, but they were immigrants. And we're talking about the know-nothings and what happened in the 1800s, but we're comparing that to what is going on in Springfield, Ohio, which has been a huge mess. Number 45 was debating our future number 47, I hope. And mentioned about in Springfield, Ohio, people are eating pets, and he's blaming Haitians who are from Haiti, apparently. That's what JD Vance thinks. Fucking idiot. This is going to be spicy, y'all. Let me just warn you. What?
Did you see the TikTok of the woman who's like, Haisha, come get your kids. Come get your kids, Haisha. Like, who's this Haisha who's leaving all of her kids in Ohio? Like, they are so willfully ignorant.
But they're also so racist, and they don't hide it well at all. And I'm shocked by people who don't see it or don't seem to think that it's a big deal. And that's why I talk about it, because I'm just stunned by that. And I want it to stop. And I think the more that we have these uncomfortable conversations, which we will step in it sometimes when you do that. I mean, but that's how things move forward. I want things to move forward, Sonia. I don't want to go back. That's a rallying cry. We're not going back.
We're not going back, like, ever.
Never.
We're never, ever getting back together.
I love the New York Times. I said that sarcastically, by the way. They had a poll today, Sonia, and they're trying to find out how likable that Taylor Swift is to the voters out there. And do you know that men Republicans don't like her very much?
What a scoop.
The amount of money that the top brass is paid there, that you could cut that salary in half and get some decent reporters doing the job and doing the work. Yep. And they just can't understand why people are calling them out, and they're just shocked.
No. Maggie Haberman, is that how you pronounce her last name? Haberman, who has been covering Trump for years and years and years, apparently went on NPR this week and was like, well, the left has been really criticizing the coverage of Trump, and it's making it really hard and blah, blah, blah. Like basically blaming the left for calling her out on doing
it an industry.
Job. Yeah. And it's like, no, bitch, you're doing a shitty job.
Yeah.
Like, she lets him say whatever things he wants to say, even when they're lies, and she just puts it in the paper like it's fact.
Right.
And it's like, that's not what a reporter's supposed to do. You're not supposed to both sides everything. You can call a lie.
There's objective truth.
Yes, that's what journalism is supposed to do. And I don't know where it got lost. And that might be a future episode. Because I think it might have started with, well, it's probably always been there. But I think William Randolph Hearst had a lot to do with this.
Hearst has been an episode I've wanted to do for a while. I have a couple of his biographies. He's a fascinating character. I find newspapers very interesting. I mean, Sonia was a reporter for years. I read them. I grew up reading them. My parents were big readers. I like newspapers, but they're struggling, y'all.
They are. And there's a reason for that. And they think that by doubling down on, I don't know, both sidesing, that they can attract more people. And it's like, no, you're actually doing the opposite. You're alienating a lot of people that are looking for facts. Like, I'm not interested in reading a newspaper that's a Fox News.
Right.
Just like I'm not interested in reading a newspaper that would be whatever the opposite of Fox News would be. Like, I would like one that tells me the truth so that I can read that, digest it, and be like, I know these things to be true. Instead of, these things might be true.
I don't like the neutral tone. I find the neutral tone very annoying. And I think that it's a disservice to people to talk about some of these things. Yeah. Well, and some of these things are lies that are being said, and they're putting people in danger.
Yes.
And I don't mean like 45's golf day on a Sunday where someone can hang out with an Uzi for 12 hours. 12 hours. And nobody knew. And then they say, well, that's because the left has been saying that he's a Marxist. He's terrible. It's like, no. No. And it's Republicans that are trying to shoot him, not Democrats. So,
yeah.
I mean,
he's the one with the heightened rhetoric and and all of this. And we've said this on many episodes, and I think it's worth repeating right here. Like, your sexism, your racism, your homophobia, your transphobia, all that stuff. It's not a difference of opinion.
It's shit's wrong.
It's shit's fucking wrong. You're wrong. So if you're thinking we're going to both sides racism, you can eat my ass.
Ooh. And I stand with her on that. Because I really have no fucking patience. Like, my friends.
No.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything else. I'll get in trouble. Okay.
Let's get into it.
Let's just get into it. So, Sonia.
Yeah.
Do you remember the movie? Okay. Do you remember? I'll do it this way.
Yeah.
Do you remember the movie Gangs of New York?
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch it?
I saw it in the theater. No, I haven't seen it a few times. I've seen it once in the theater, and it was grimy and ugly, and I hated the way it made me feel. But I did think Daniel Day-Lewis was really, really good in it.
Well, he was, and he was playing a real character, Bill the Butcher, who was, we're going to go into this. We're going to talk about America in the past, what I really want to focus on today is racism, of course, but the nativist movement, the Know Nothings, which was a political party that had a lot of power in the middle of, right before the Civil War here in the States. I want to talk about nativism, and I also want to kind of connect that with what's going on in Springfield. I am not an expert on anything here, and Springfield is still reeling from what's going on there.
Mhm.
We're trying to get the proper information. The kids that there's when Trump said that they were eating pets, what started happening, because there's a large Haitian community. There's about 20,000 of them in a place
Here legally. By the way.
legally. It's a temporary pass,
Yes.
but they're here legally. And Haiti is a country that's been through several upheavals over the years. I know Haitian people. There's a large Haitian. I live in Brooklyn. There's a large Haitian population here. I know lots of people. Let me tell you also about living here in the States and living in a big city here in the United States. One of the best things about it. I thought about today. Well, I was at the Trader Joe's getting my haul, spending $200 when I brought one bag, and I was like, I'm just going to get this, this, and this. And then, of course, pumpkin. What?
Yeah, pumpkin everything. You get in this cart right now.
I need you. Those new egg sandwiches. What?
Yep.
The food is goddamn delicious. You want to know
Trader
why all
Joe's. I'm going there later today.
Yeah. When people talk about America, like, why do people in New York and San Francisco and like Chicago, like, why do people just talk about food all the time? Why are they always at restaurants? Like, because it's fucking delicious. Because we have a variety. Our palates are amazing because we're not just fed the same shit all the time. Like, we can, yeah. So
I ordered so much delivery this week, y'all. And what I ordered was Indian food and Ethiopian food. It's fucking delicious, man. It's the best.
Have you had a jerk patty for Jamaican food? The jerk patties it's like a cornbread with meat. Well, you don't eat meat, but back when you ate meat, oh, shit's delicious, man. Okay.
Let's all right. Enough food talk.
Right.
You're just making me hungry.
Right. So there's businesses that were, and Springfield was a town that very middle America, had their industries, had their people, and people raised families. And then there was the Great Depression, but there was 70s, there was unemployment. There's been, up and down especially like there are large sections in the Midwest, car culture. It's tradesmen and craftsmen, men and women. I mean, it's people that work with their hands. We say blue collar here in America. I don't know what the equivalent is.
Factory work.
Production, exactly.
Yeah, production line work, things like that.
People who get their hands dirty. People who, they can't do it online. They have to show up in person and work. And it's physical. It sometimes has a risk to it. It can be kind of dangerous. But these jobs are important and these people are important. And America went through a phase, and they're still doing this, where they outsource everything. And so these jobs disappear. Then these people who were, for generations were like, I work for a car factory, I work for Ford, or I work for this thing. And they're not there anymore. And then they started coming back. And then Springfield needed labor. And what happened in Haiti, and there's been several things. They've had flooding, they've had war, they've had earthquakes. They've had, it's an island nation. I mean, things can really happen there, like with weather-wise, but also with what's happened politically. And people are like, I don't know, why don't we go to that place where they claim to like immigrants, and you're welcome there, and you can have your rights, and as long as you're willing to work and and contribute, you can live here. And so these people are like, yeah, that sounds damn good. And so a lot of people from there, and also Venezuela, were coming to middle America and up in places like Maine, where they have to then assimilate. And there has been some growing pains. I mean, people who spoke Creole/French from there, they now have to learn English. And we're going to talk about like some events that happened in Springfield, but
we should also mention that it does not say RSVP on the Statue of Liberty.
Fucking A, Sonia. I see her every day
from Clueless.
I see it from my apartment. So Lady Liberty. So yes, I'm very attached to her. Yeah. And like I said, I'm a third generation immigrant. I love this country. I love my history. I love my people. I'm happy to meet so many interesting people here. And I think that's just what we should be doing. This is what makes us great.
Yeah.
Right. And some people just can't handle that. There's some growing pains going on there, but there's this rise of distrust for people. because they're not speaking the same language. A lot of times it's a lot of men that they send and they have families back home. And single men or packs of single men can be seen as a threat. White or black, doesn't matter. I mean, but
True.
People are, there's been an adjustment. And when Trump said that, there's been 33 bomb threats. As the time of that I was writing this, there were 33 bomb threats that were targeting Haitian residents in Springfield. Once again, they're there legally.
Yes.
And my mother even used this term, used to drive me crazy, illegals. It's like you just can't, it's a way of dehumanizing a person. We're not going to talk about Nazi rhetoric today because I will lose my damn mind. I'm already upset by this, but the way the residents are trying to rally, and it is dividing the town now because there's people that are like, look, you know what, their problem, we got to get them out. And there are people like, no, they're great. The business owners are saying they're the best workers they've ever had.
Right.
They're on time.
They work there. They live there.
Yes.
They pay they go to the businesses there. They're shopping. They're eating at the restaurants.
Yep.
They're contributing to that economy, and they've been there. And because of what Trump has done and JD Vance, like, he's put a target on them, and it's going to spread.
It does spread. Right. And so they had neo-Nazis walking through there last weekend, which JD Vance was like, meh, shrug. He doesn't mind having a country that people do that. I like. Yeah.
By the way, this is his state that he represents.
He's a senator for the state. Yes.
Yeah. He doesn't give a fuck.
But the residents there are trying to fight back. I actually saw something today, Sonia. I saved it to my phone, but there's people there that are like, what can we do? And it's sometimes like the simplest thing you can do, like something you enjoy can be something that's super helpful to somebody.
Yeah.
And there are people there that love this Haitian food, like, because it's delicious.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's called Conquer with Love. And that's what the Springfield resident call it, Conquer with Love. And then people are making a point of going to Haitian restaurants so that they can support to show that they support them, which is like, God bless America. That's what I love when we do that. But let me tell you also about America right now, just to remind people. Inflation is under 3%. Violent crime is at a 50-year low. Dow hit an all-time high yesterday. Unemployment is low. Jobs are plentiful. I question that one because I think LinkedIn and a lot of places just advertise for jobs, but they're not really hiring. But gas prices are low. We aren't deployed in any wars. Okay, Ukraine and Israel, you can make a point, but we're not deployed there. Energy production is also at an all-time high. These are all facts. This is all things that are going on right now. But you would think that America is a total shithole if you talk to some people. Prices are too damn high, by the way. They went up during the pandemic, which 45 mishandled, and which is why we had a supply chain problem. But the CEOs at these companies got very fucking greedy and jacked up the prices and kept them there.
And they haven't brought them back down.
And they don't pay their employees more.
Nope.
They take those bonuses. Mm-hmm. This shit's deadly. And it's got to, we as a nation have got to get a handle on things. But Sonia, I think it's time. Do I just go into this episode or not?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. If you've been keeping up with the news, you may have heard about the city of Springfield, Ohio, where there have been over 33 bomb threats as of this posting, targeting its Haitian residents. How did the situation come about? Today, we will delve into the origins of the Know Nothing Party, also known as the American Party, a nativist political movement in the United States during the 1840s and 50s. Understanding the history and policies of this party will provide valuable insight into the current immigration debates that the U.S. is having today. We're going to take a close look at this party's history and ideology and see how it continues to influence to this day. The content warning is racism, bigotry, and just general assholery. Maybe if you have young kids, think about it, because some of these stories are kind of scary.
We probably already alienated them with our language. So
the 5-year-olds are like, this sounds boring. Boring. Later. My sources are, because we source everything, Smithsonian, Britannica, Politico, CNN, Newsweek, Springfield News Sun, New York Times, The Guardian, BBC, Springfield Commission meeting. There was a meeting where a neo-Nazi, this is August 27, 2024. This is where it all began. If you can go there, you can look at this link. A neo-Nazi started spreading rumors about Haitians and what they were doing.
Gross.
Yeah. Piece of shit. Him. New York Magazine, Washington Post, NBC News, The Atlantic, and the podcast The Dollop. They also had an episode about Know Nothings that I thought was really helpful.
That sounds like a bunch of fake news.
Fake news. All the links are there. Just swipe the artwork on the app and you should be able to get to them.
Yeah.
So the Know Nothing Party existed between 1844 and 1860. What was going on in America at that time? We've always had immigrants coming to America. We're immigrants, by the original immigrants.
Correct. Like nobody who lives here, unless you're a Native American,
right?
Nobody who lives here didn't come from an immigrant.
That's the whole thing about America. It's like right. And when we were kids growing up, we called them Indians, and they're Native American. Now we say Native Americans, which is funny because here they refer to themselves as Native Americans, and they mean white Protestant people. They don't mean anybody else. But yeah, this is what happened. We came to this country and then decided, we're going to call it America, and we're going to speak English, and we're going to do this and this and this, and that's tough shit if you don't like it. So the Know Nothing Party came about because there were two parties. There were the Whigs and the Democrats. And the Democrats were actually, at that time, which Republicans at these things love to say to this day, were very pro-slavery. And they were. They weren't great. They're not great. No. And there's always been this conversation going on about should there be slavery or not. Believe it or not, it was a discussion that had to be had for like 100 years before anybody had any balls to do something about it. It was mostly religious institutions that basically really were spreading the message like, this is not okay. Can't be doing this. America was going through, we had what was called the gold rush, which was the westward expansion. And the gold rush caused a lot of people to move west, but it also, that inflated the prices. So there was inflation. So people were having to move. They were having a hard time making ends meet. And people were having to like get jobs or different jobs. They were losing work and having to go places and find work. And then they go places like a city and they look at themselves and they see a bunch of Irish Catholics or Germans having jobs. And they're like, that should go to me. I'm a Native American. And that was that's the nativist movement is at the Native American Party was people who were born here are Native Americans. You can come here, and the timing switches all the time. You have to earn your vote, your right to vote. So you have to wait 5 years to become a citizen or whatever. They wanted you to wait 21 years to become a citizen, and then you could vote. 21 years when the average lifespan for a white man was 40. And a white woman was 43. Woo!
Woo! 3 whole years.
3 whole years without him. They were probably great years.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's the best years of my life.
The problem then people always talk about people came to America for religious liberty and blah, 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 blah. They meant their religion. They meant Protestantism. They don't mean anything else. And I never realized this because I grew up on the East Coast. There's so many Catholics everywhere in New York and Pennsylvania where I lived. So it was never I didn't think it was a big deal, but it was a big deal for people who were Catholics coming to America because there was a lot of concern about the fact that they worship a pope. That was the way it was explained. The fact that they have a pope and the pope tells people, like our pope who won't can't recommend anybody to be a president. Because God forbid the guy that's been adjudicated for rape and has 34 felony counts is just as bad as the woman who's amazing, who has no arrest record at all.
Yes, but he can't support her because she supports the idea that women should be able to make their own medical decisions. Therefore, she's just as bad. So, I mean, how are we to decide?
Who's to know, Sonia?
I mean, they're just the
flip a
same.
coin.
They're just exactly the same. Who cares? Ugh.
What was happening in America that intrigued people that was different from what was happening over in Europe was that we didn't have kings. This is actually a democratic republic. You vote for who's in charge
now,
and they have a definite time frame that they're allowed to serve. George Washington is the person that put that out forth. He's like, no, it's a 4-year term. We don't have kings. He was very flawed man. We have a whole episode about George Washington, by the way, and his creepy stuff. But so voting and the political parties have a lot of power. And joining the political party is stressful. It's figuring out the one that you think is going to work for you. You pick your team and you hope they have your best interests at heart. You hope they can get elected. You hope they're not total losers or psychos and,
right.
or they're going to do something that gets them kicked out of office. Like you're just hoping a lot. And for these Native American Party people, they were tired of the Democrats and the Whigs were losing power. So they just started their own thing and they called it simply the American Party. And the reason that it's called the Know Nothing Party is that when people met, it was like Fight Club, basically. You didn't talk about the Know Nothing Party. And this happened all across the country. And this is like, there's Pony Express
Welcome to
going
the party.
on.
What party is this? We can't talk about it.
I know nothing.
I know nothing about it.
I know nothing.
Let's just shoot our guns in the air and yell, hee-haw, yahoo!
And it's incredible how successful they were. They just came in, like I said, the Democrats were kind of shooting themselves in the foot with their slavery issues. We had westward expansion. So there's the Kansas-Nebraska Act, where we were like, well, one state can have slavery, but one state cannot have slavery. And then how do we decide these things? Also, they had a lot of rules about who gets the jobs. We had flooding into America, Chinese people, Irish people, German people, Japanese people. And it was which one of them are allowed to get a job when we have all these white men that are more deserving, is the way they say, the Native Americans that are more deserving.
Gross.
And especially what gave people side eye was Catholicism. Catholicism also was very anti-slavery, but they were worried about them because they have a lot of power over their people. And they're like, well, the Pope's just going to tell them what to do. So they're not going to be loyal to America. They're going to be loyal to their weird religion in their eyes. So
it was the Scientology of its time.
It certainly was. They had handshakes. They had language. They had everything was very secretive. It was a time, by the way, women were not allowed to vote till the 19th Amendment in 1920. So it's just the dudes.
Yep.
And they were very used to being in charge. And they were very used to looking around and seeing themselves wherever they go. And it was very alarming. Yes. And it still happens. People still.
Yeah. This is why men lose their shit when Captain Marvel comes out. How dare you make a superhero movie that doesn't star a man? I only like to go to the movies to see men doing cool man things. How dare you? You don't have to go see it. Yes, I do. And it has to be a man.
God, that Ghostbusters movie with Leslie Jones
ruined my childhood.
I can't. I really fucking can't. Okay. One Boston minister described Catholicism as Boston people. If you know anything about Boston, it is very Irish Catholic.
They're wicked weird.
Wicked hard. They're wicked smart. Going to the Packy and get some beers at the Donkey. I mean Dunkin' Donuts when I say that. He described Catholicism as the ally of tyranny, the opponent of material prosperity, the foe of thrift, the enemy of the railroad, the caucus, and the school. All kinds of conspiracy theories were going on about what the Catholic Church is really about. And in fact, they were having their own secret society. And their secrets and then within the Know Nothings, the American Party, but the Know Nothings, they had a double secret probation and a double secret group, which is kind of like the Tea Party, but the Tea Party
double secret probation.
Everything's Animal House to me. I'm going to also talk about Carrie in a minute. So we're going to just all these movie references are going to come out. But they had, it was called the Order, the Secret Society that would go to election. They were very hung up on elections, obviously, because the politicians have the power. And the fact that they're not kings, that they're not, they just don't go on a throne and then rule for 20, 30 years until they die or whatever. The fact that we have these, 4-year or 6-year terms or even 2-year terms, it's, you're constantly having to elect people. You're trying to get people elected all the time and who is good and whatever. So voting back then was paper. You checked off a piece of paper. It was not private. They didn't have booths. And what happened was they would go into the Know Nothings, created the Order of the Star Spangled Banner, because of course they did, because they always have to jerk off to something American. Like they have to. It just makes me crazy. It was founded by Charles B. Allen in New York City. They only had 36 members to start, but their fear of Catholic immigration caused some Protestants to become dissatisfied with the Catholic Party, and they were seriously sick of the Democratic Party, and whose leaders, Catholics of Irish descent in many cities. They would go to polling stations and threaten people. They would go to people's homes and ask them, who are you voting for? Were you voting for this guy, right? This is our guy. And people were terrified.
Does this sound familiar to anybody?
This is what I want to talk about because, yes, I mean, just today, Georgia Board of Electors, which was Trump picked, has decided that all of the elections in the state of Georgia have to do paper ballots that have to be hand counted. Think about that.
They also, by the way, want the election results that night. They're like,
how do you do that?
And it's like, you're asking for two very different things here.
A paper ballot, y'all, that's public. That's not private. It's not like you go in a booth and shut the door. Like you were expected to like say it verbally who you were voting for. But a paper ballot, like think about that. I'm thinking about the movie Carrie. Carrie with Sissy Spacek.
Yes.
They have paper ballots for that prom. And PJ Souls was like, oh, no.
That's right.
We have Chris Hargensen and Billy Nolan have a plan here, and we're going to let it go.
There's a lot of voter intimidation going on right now too. There's like sheriffs and other police officers are driving around. They're writing down addresses of people who have like Harris Walls signs in their yard.
Right.
Or, so that they can like intimidate these people. And Trump is also telling people to like go to the polls and like to quote unquote make sure nobody's cheating, but it's really about intimidating people.
Yes.
Into voting for their guy or not voting at all.
Or not voting at all, or the woman, God forbid, that they're voting for. I mean, there's a lot of that intimidation that goes on, and I'm sure it happens all over the world.
Yes.
I'm a dumb American. I only know what happens here, so I'm doing the best that I can. But they were very powerful. Within 10 years, they actually got a lot of juice behind them. They had a lot of people that were like, yeah, that's right. We need to change things here. This is 20
and
years
I also
the
know
War.
the secret handshake.
I love me a secret handshake. In the spring of 1855, the Know-Nothing candidate Levi Boone was elected mayor of Chicago. And when he was mayor, when he went into office, he barred all immigrants from city jobs. So all the immigrants that had city jobs were fired. The mayor of Philadelphia, he did the same thing with the police force. He fired the entire police force that had immigrants. They had to be Native Americans. Not real Native Americans, once again.
Right.
But just white dudes of English background, basically. Maybe Swedish. They're not religious, but that kind of thing. Abraham Lincoln was totally not on board, by the way, with this. This would become, by the way, shock of all shocks, they would become the Republican Party.
What? I'm going to have a heart attack and die from that surprise.
Yeah. So this happens all over the place. One of the things, the know-nothing electorate, this is straight from Wikipedia, the Whig Party was strongest in high-income districts, but the know-nothing electorate was stronger in the poor district. They expelled the traditional upper class, closed political system, especially the lawyers and merchants. In their stead, they elected working class men, farmers, and a large number of teachers and ministers. And they were basically people who had less than $10,000 in property. They were going for the blue collar vote. They were going for the people who are what we would say nowadays paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
They were not going to the bourgeoisie.
That's interesting, though, because now this party is part of the GOP, part of Republicans.
Grand old party.
Yeah. And they also tend to court that vote and pretend that anyone who isn't like that isn't a quote unquote real American, like heartland American.
Yep.
But it's not to support working people, I should say. They're getting them to actually vote against their own interests and support rich people with the promise that, well, you might be one of us someday, so you should protect us.
Exactly.
Or we'll take care of you.
We're the creators. We're job creators. Yeah. We'll make sure you'll be able to open your bar. You'll be able
back to our trickle down economic episode on Reagan. And none of those things happen. So
also they were very much into the temperance movement. Believe it or not, they were the Native Americans wanted to actually close the bars and the pubs. There's fighting and stuff that happens there, but it's also places where people go to talk politics. And you get a little drunk, you get a little loosey mouthed, and then you talk to somebody and they tell you that's not what happened, dude. This is actually what's going on over at City Hall. They don't want that. They want to keep people obedient.
Yes,
which is part of that temperance movement. So here come the Germans and the Irish who don't care about temperance. Let's just say. And there's all kinds of political cartoons where it's Germans with beer lagers and Irish people with their whiskey, stealing ballot boxes. They were very afraid of the ballot boxes and people stuffing the ballot boxes with a bunch of immigrants. Having immigrants vote is the worst thing.
And this is, again, Margot is tying it all back to what's happening right now. There is a huge thing in the Republican Party where they're lots of illegal people are voting.
Infesting. That's words
not
they
a
use.
thing.
Right.
It's not a thing that's happening. In fact, every time they do any kind of investigation, it usually turns out to be some white Republican person who committed voter fraud.
Yep.
It almost is, but they continue to tell this story of the Democrats let illegal aliens, because that's their term, come into America and vote. And that is not a thing that is happening, but it's the tale as old as time.
You have to register to vote. And the thing with America is we don't have a national system either, which also I think is kind of a problem because it depends where you, it's weird. It's also so it goes by state. It can go by counties. Where you live. And some places you have to have, in New York, you can just show up with a library card and, or a phone bill or something like that as identification. Some places need your photo on there. Not everybody drives. I mean, this is also a problem with
what?
Yeah.
No, everybody drives. We're all exactly the same.
Not everybody drives, and not everybody travels. So it's not everybody has a driver's license or a passport. And then the thought of going to the DMV to get an ID card is loathsome to people because it's the DMV. Nobody wants to go there unless you're going to get a license for a car. It's kind of I've had an ID card before,
right?
But not everybody has them. And so it's, you're trying to make it open to everybody because that's when it's fair. But there are people who want to make it very, very difficult in order to scare people. And the way you scare people, it's well, you might get your status taken away from you. And then what are you going to do? And I'm saying, once again, people that are coming here, a lot of them start out by themselves and they have wives and kids or families back home that they're trying to save up money for.
Right.
And pay rent. And this is another thing. People are oh my God, they brought up the rent, the rent's more expensive and blah, blah, blah. I'm that's actually a good sign. It means that people want to be there And it means that, yeah.
Right.
So they start taking over. In Massachusetts, they got the governor and almost the entire House and Senate, but there was violence that happened. And so at Catholic churches, people were burning churches down. People were going into Irish tenements and shooting at people. It was horrifying. In the coastal town of Ellsworth, Maine, in 1854, know-nothings were associated with the tarring and feathering of a Catholic priest. And they also burned down a Catholic church in Bath, Maine. There was, in Baltimore, the mayor of elections 1856, 57, 58 were all marred by violence and well-founded accusations of ballot rigging. And then I want to talk to you about, we'll talk this one story. It's about what happened in Louisville, Kentucky, August 6, 1855. It's called Bloody Monday, Sonia.
Ooh.
And what happened was an election day. And there were immigrants that were coming. There were 11,000 immigrants in a population of, so there's a white population was 36,000 and there were 11,000 immigrants that were Irish and German. And this is Ohio. By the way, Cincinnati, Ohio is so German that it has the biggest Oktoberfest.
How German
Berlin.
is it?
How German is it? Achtung, how German is it? It's the biggest Oktoberfest outside of Berlin. So there's a lot of Germans that live there. But they and the Irish were considered enemies of the other Americans that were there. And so there's this election that comes up and the Know Nothing Party sends their goons, and some of them were called Sams because of Uncle Sam. And they're showing up. In the afternoon, a general row occurred. Once again, this is from Wiki. In the afternoon, a general row occurred, it was August 6th, on Shelby Street, extending from Main to Broadway. Some 14 or 15 men were shot, including Officer Williams, Joe Selvage, and others. 2 or 3 were killed, and a number of houses, chiefly German coffee houses, broken into and pillaged. At 4 o'clock, a vast crowd, armed with shotguns, muskets, and rifles, were proceeding to attack the German parish of St. Martin of Tours on Shelby Street. Mayor Barbie, himself a know-nothing, assuaged them, and the mob returned to the First Ward polls. An hour afterwards, the large brewery on Jefferson Street, near the junction of Green, was set on fire. Reverend Carl Boswald was fatally injured by a hail of flying stones while on his way to visit a dying parishioner. This is election day. And it just kept going on and on. People were killed trying to vote. By the time it was over 100 businesses, private homes, and tenements had been vandalized, looted, burned, including a block-long row of houses known as Quinn's Row. Historians estimate the death toll at 19 to 22, while Catholics, including Bishop Martin John Spalding, set the death toll at well over 100, with entire families consumed in fires.
So fucked up.
It's so fucked up. So that's just like one example of what's been going on there. So we were talking about Bill. The Know Nothing Party in New York City was the Daniel Day-Lewis of it all.
What was he? Bill the Butcher?
Bill the Butcher.
Bill?
He was a butcher.
Okay.
He was also a Know Nothing. And if you ever watch the movie, the movie is very historically inaccurate, just to not shock you people, but it's not exactly a documentary, or docudrama. It's very fanciful with the details. He was much younger than Daniel Day-Lewis plays him, but he was a leader of a gang called the Bowery Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a part of the Know Nothings, and they would go to polling stations and harass people. They were very, very evil. He wound up being murdered for doing what he does.
Yeah.
What he did. And the New York Times had a very loving tribute to him when he died, because the fucking New York Times.
Did Maggie Haberman write it?
Would it be hilarious like her grandmother wrote it, or her grandfather or something? Because it's like a glowing, like, oh, he really cares about America. He was just so like, I'm like, no, he's a fucking thug from Jersey. I mean,
Yeah.
they're dime a dozen here.
Yeah. Good job, New York Times.
In Boston, there were posters around Boston that proclaimed all Catholics and all persons who favor the Catholic Church are vile imposters, liars, villains, and cowardly cutthroats.
Come on, that's only half true.
I mean, but how were people described?
It's so awful.
It's Boston. Y'all just give the fuck up. You're going to be Irish. That's just the way it's going to be. You have no choice in the matter. There was actually a convent in Boston where young women were held against their will because there was a person that was determined to find out whether or not priests were raping nuns and strangling the babies that resulted. It didn't matter that it was a fraud.
No.
The conspiracies were so...
The truth is that they believed it, Margot.
They believed it to be true, which is the George Costanza thing. It's not a lie if you think it's true.
You believe... Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So there was posters around Boston claiming that all Catholic persons are vile and that there were these women being raped against their will. These nuns were being raped by the priests, and then they were strangling the babies that came out. So priests were being attacked in the streets, called rapists and murderers. You know, there was a woman named Maria Monk who wrote about this and was violently anti-Catholic and was totally with the Know Nothing gang. She was a pick-me girl for the Know Nothing gang. Like, and wrote a book about priests raping nuns and strangling babies. And it sold hundreds of thousands of copies all along the East Coast.
Damn. She was so close, though. They were actually raping altar boys.
Exactly.
She was so close to getting
Almost
it.
got it.
Yeah.
The Know Nothings eventually just kind of lost steam. They lost power because people were kind of grossed out by them. They behaved terribly.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah. But they were behaving badly and people were getting tired. They just brought chaos with them everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You could never
also
relax.
Sounds familiar.
Right. So it eventually was exhausting to people. And so eventually the Democrats did get back into office, and then the Republicans absorbed themselves into that party and had a little bit of the Whig stuff with them. And they were also anti-slavery, by the way. And they love to tell you that all the time.
Yeah, like
because it means they're not racist.
It means they're not racist, even though they are super racist and say the most fucked up shit.
My parents were Republicans, by the way. They weren't racist, but they were very white and very much of their generation.
My parents are Republicans, and one of them is very racist. Like, I'm like, don't. That's super racist, and he's like, well, that's the part I love. Like, okay, cool.
Anyway, here we are now. What happens is that by the 1860s, America's going to have a civil war because we really have not even something that should have been settled. Never happened in the first place, by the way, but things that should have been settled by then hadn't been. So then we had that. So anyway, here we are, 2024, the year of our Lord, 2024. And we have Springfield. And I'm just going to give you just a few facts about Springfield. Once again, this is a story in progress. Normally, we like to talk about things that have already happened so we can give it some context, but we can't. But we also can't keep our eyes off of this because to me, this is very illustrative of like what has happened in the past and what could happen again if we're not careful.
Yeah.
And we have to look out for people. And America is a gigantic country. We have room. We have room for people.
There is. Yes.
It's just appalling to me that people don't want to say that.
No, they just want to. They're just trying to blame others.
Right. For your state of your life.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be those people. And it's like.
Yeah. The party that talks about personal responsibility is also the party that's like, it's not you, it's them.
Right.
It's them.
They're stopping
Not
you.
you. Yeah.
Which is a form of gaslighting or triangulating or any other like those psychology terms that people bring up. But yeah, it's a way to manipulate people.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's
not
working.
the supposed billionaire who's been married how many times, who has 34 felony counts, who's been adjudicated for rape, who cannot run a nonprofit in the state of New York because they're so gross, because
they steal from it.
They steal from people who can't. He flew to Montana, y'all, recently for an event, a poorly attended event, by the way. He had to land in a different city than the one he was going to be at because he owed that other city money. And they said, you cannot fucking land in our airport until you pay.
Yeah.
And he has the same problem in Texas. He wants to go to Houston.
This is why he does all these outdoor events, because they're free.
They're free. But then they're not. But then they
protected.
They can't protect it properly, you know? He was in, just in case all you like ready to hate me, he was in Long Island, which is where I'm originally from, y'all. And he put a lot of bodies in that Nassau Coliseum, one of the most loathsome event spaces ever. But yeah, I grew up there. There are a lot of mediocre white guys, not all, but a lot. Mediocre people, just frankly, that love him and worship him and think he's a real New York City, maybe Staten Island, but the rest of New York City doesn't like Donald Trump.
No,
but,
they hate him. They've been hating
Jersey
him before.
likes
it was
him.
Cool.
Long Island likes him. Upstate New York and the rural parts of New York, they like him. But the city itself, they hate him. So that's why he went. And he went there because he did such a shitty job at the debate. That was just to stroke his ego.
Yes.
It's
His
not a
feelings
swing
were
state.
Hurt, so he needs to go to
right. I love
his
Jasmine
comfort
Crockett,
zones.
who's like, we're having this thing because some mediocre white man. Anyway,
his feelings got hurt in the debate.
So let me explain. So this is Springfield that I'm just going to finish up with. This is from CNN. That there are between 12 to 15,000 immigrants that are living in Clark County. About 10 to 12,000 are of Haitian background. The census says that Springfield is 60,000 people. So that's a decent chunk of people. Like I said, many of them, you'll be talking about this when you talk about your non-creeps. A lot of them don't know how to drive, didn't know how to drive a car. Yeah. Because it's an island culture. They don't do so they have to learn how to do that. They then had to have teachers be able to teach English to the influx of kids. They had teach English to the influx of adults so they can read the signs and they could read menus and just like try to make it here. But that's what you do to help people. That's how you come together as a community.
Yeah. It's called fucking kindness.
Harmony.
Check it out.
It's called harmony. How do we do this? How do we make this so
do for your community?
It's all about doing for your community because we all help each other. We all have our strengths. We all have our weaknesses. But together we can get shit done. And the people there, most of them, there's a few bad eggs.
Yeah, for sure.
There was a woman who there's people that have called and said, once he started saying that they were stealing, this Nazi was saying that they were stealing pets and eating them. People started calling him like, my cat's missing, my dog's missing, what's going on? And then it turns out they just ran away. Probably because they knew their owners are psychos.
Yeah, or they found their cat in the basement.
In the basement. That one lady that I posted in our Facebook group today.
I was like, bitch, please. You posted that shit on Facebook anyway. I have
no respect for that. I'm just
like,
I don't feel sorry for you.
No.
We've all posted stupid shit falling for like a phony news source, but come on. That is your time to like really look at your life. Like, who the fuck am I? What am I made of? But the Biden administration announced Haitians would be among a new group of nationalities eligible for a program officials hoped would create more lawful pathways for people. There are a lot of people that want to come to this country. Once again, it's a huge country. We could fit people. We can create jobs for people. Like, I truly believe in all that. And they come from all these amazing places all over the world that just can make us all more interesting and more empathetic and just cooler.
And the people that don't want them here are the people that are like, America's the best country in the world. Okay.
Right.
That's why they want to come here then, right?
Right.
They're also the people that say, if Harris wins, I'm leaving.
Bye.
Where are you going?
Go to Haiti. Go to Haisha.
No, yeah. And they're like, well, I just won't feel safe here. Oh, really?
Oh, imagine that.
So you're going to seek asylum in another country, huh? Good luck.
And these,
they'll never get it, though. They won't piece it together.
And the Haitian community is very Catholic and Christian. Some people are like, oh, they're into voodoo. Like that Marianne Williamson, that dipshit. We'll talk about her one day.
Yeah.
Said, oh, you don't understand. They're into voodoo. You just like, you're an elite. You don't get it. I'm like, bitch.
Do you know how many white women I know who are into voodoo and witchcraft?
You who sells crystals to people and woo. That's your whole fucking brand. Not foreign policy, dipshit. Get the fuck away from me, Marianne Williamson. Fucking hate her. Always have. Never trusted her.
She sucks.
And yes.
And I'm all, what a cunt.
That was going to be the name of our show.
What a cunt.
The Republican governor, who's been the mayor of Springfield has been great, but he's also saying, like, we got to calm shit down because Trump and Vance want to go there. And put on a rally.
Yes, they want to keep stirring up shit. And by the way, they're doing all this shit because they don't want people talking about, one, their policies. And they can't win on their policies, which is why they're trying to suppress voting, because they can't run on that shit. And they also, like, Trump's feelings were hurt at the debate, and he doesn't want people talking about that. So, like, they start weird bullshit culture war stuff to distract from other things. So, it's just what a waste of time. And they want to go, they don't care if people get hurt, by the way. Like,
no,
they just don't care.
No, a man was murdered at his gig. I call it a gig for Trump.
His gig. I love it.
He was murdered. A man that has kids was part of that community. And like, everyone's forgotten about him. You think Trump gives a shit?
No, he does not give a shit. He literally could care less.
It's just,
or couldn't care less.
Right.
Yeah.
I also just want to end it with the governor of Ohio is a red state. It's one of those, like, when Democrats win it, it's like, woo, we got Ohio. People who work, who want to work, people who value their kids, who value education, these are positive influences on our community in Springfield. And any comment about that otherwise, I think, is hurtful and is not helpful to the city of Springfield and the people of Springfield. I think he could say that more forcefully, but he's Republican.
He's a politician.
And he's a politician. And he doesn't want the Trumpers bothering him. But he also, they don't need this bullshit. Nope.
Nobody needs this bullshit.
No. So I'm just going to end it there, Sonia. I hope it was informative, entertaining.
I think it is, because it's another example of how everything old is new again.
Yep.
And these tricks, these things that they're doing, this is all just dirty playbook shit that they've done for years. And I'm hoping that they are becoming less and less effective. But right now, it's still really hurting people. And that,
there's people hurting, and there's people that are scared, and they're calling bomb threats at kids at elementary schools, for Christ's sake.
The hospitals, the elementary schools, the city hall,
college.
Like, all of them are having to, like, shut the colleges. They're having to shut down because of this shit. And people like Trump and Vance, they don't care.
It's just a game to them.
It's 100% a game to them, and that is going to kind of lead us to our non-creeps.
And I want to say also that Sonia is going away. Sonia's birthday is coming up. Everybody, write it down. October 2nd. Woo! She's a Libra.
I care about balance and justice, y'all.
We're going to be replaying our Ray Cohn episode that week because she's going to Hawaii.
I'm taking Calvin to Oahu for a week.
So we'll be replaying that, because that's a good one y'all need to listen to, because everything Trump's doing, he learned from Ray Cohn. So we're Here we go. All right, Sonia.
Yeah. So I've got a couple non-creeps for us. So I'm going to talk about Nathan Clark and Shanette Williams. So just over a year ago, Nathan Clark and Danielle Clark's 11-year-old son, Aiden, was killed in a car accident on his way to the first day of school. Like he was thrown from a bus after a minivan hit it. Like it veered into oncoming traffic and hit it and knocked the bus over. Like 20 students were injured, but he was thrown from the bus and he was killed. It was
My
very
question,
sad.
did you ever ride the bus to school?
I rode the school bus to kindergarten.
Yeah.
And then after that, like I would walk to school or I took the public transportation. I took the county connection.
I wish I
bus.
did. The bus always scared me.
But Calvin rides the school bus every single day.
And it can be scary. Like they don't have seatbelts. I mean,
they do now.
Yeah. Okay. So they didn't back then when I was a kid. So
Yeah.
I always wondered,
Correct.
like, oh my
they did
God.
not back then.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry
Yeah.
about Aiden.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Horrifying.
So the driver of the car that hit the bus was a man named Hermano Joseph, and he is a Haitian immigrant. He had a driver's license, but it wasn't valid in Ohio. He wasn't drunk. He didn't do drugs. It was nothing like that. And he has been convicted of involuntary manslaughter, and he's probably going to be in prison for up to like 9 years. So if losing your child to an accident isn't like shitty enough, the Clark family has now had to deal with fucking bigots who are basically thirsty to use their son's death as an excuse to be shitty to the Haitian community. And because they live there, they live in Ohio. And it's been bad for a while. Like Ohio bigots have been trying to blame Nathan Clark's son's death on immigration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gotten worse because political shit stain JD Vance has made it a national story by wrongly claiming that Aiden was murdered by an immigrant. And he's just doing it on purpose to like feed this narrative that, you know,
these are dangerous people, right?
That these are dangerous people who are here illegally and they're like killing our kids and they're eating our pets.
And he's been told they're legally here and he still says, I don't care. I'm going to call it that. He says they're going to create stories. He says that.
Yeah. And he said that in an interview. He said, if I have to create stories to get y'all to talk about what I want to talk about, that's what I'm going to do. Like he flat out said it. Like, he doesn't care. But because of people like JD Vance and Donald Trump and these other like conservative wingnuts that keep spreading this false story, Nathan Clark had to go and talk in a public like comment section of a Springfield commission meeting. And he said, I wish that my son, Aiden Clark, was killed by a 60-year-old white man. I bet you never thought anyone would say something so blunt. But if that guy killed my 11-year-old son, the incessant group of hate-spewing people would leave us alone.
Oh, my God.
The last thing we need is to have the worst day of our lives violently and constantly shoved in our faces.
Wow.
And he goes out and he calls out all these people by name who've been saying it, including like JD Vance and Donald Trump. And he says, they have spoken my son's name and used his death for political gain. And this needs to stop now. They can vomit all the hate they want about illegal immigrants, the border crisis, and even untrue claims about fluffy pets being ravaged and eaten by community members. However, they are not allowed, nor have they ever been allowed to, mention Aiden Clark from Springfield, Ohio. I will listen to them one more time to hear their apologies.
Good
and
for him.
Said, to clear the air, my son Aiden Clark was not murdered. He was accidentally killed by an immigrant from Haiti. His tragedy is felt all over this community, the state, and even the nation. But don't spin this towards hate. And he's not going to get his apology.
No,
because like Vance's people released a statement and it said that this is Vice President Harris's fault because of her border policies, and that they will put the Clark family in their prayers.
I hope they
eat my ass, JD Vance. You're such a piece of shit. Nathan Clark shouldn't even have to give this speech, and I can't imagine like that people have to share like the most awful thing that's ever happened to them in the world on a public stage to get other people to behave fucking decent makes me angry. And it happened again at the Democratic National Convention. All these women got on stage and they talked about like these like absolutely awful stories about abortion and rape and things, just so that they can like push for the government to let women make medical care decisions for themselves. And then the other woman I wanted to talk about was Shanette Williams, who was just at the Kamala Harris event with Oprah.
Yes.
And she's the mother of Amber Nicole Thurman, who actually died in a hospital in Georgia thanks to this abortion ban. Like, she had a very rare complication. She took like an abortion medication, and there was still some like fetal tissue, and she started bleeding, all this stuff. And she bled for like 20 hours, and the doctors wouldn't help her because they were afraid of being prosecuted under the abortion ban. And eventually she died.
And if they had given her a DNC, which is what they call that, she would have been fine.
Yeah.
But
like, no.
Instead, she bled to death.
Not only did she die, but like it went on for 20 hours.
And her family didn't know, like no one was called or.
Yeah. Shanette Williams goes on stage at Oprah's event with Amber's older sisters and spoke about what happened and said, "You're looking at a mother that is broken. The worst pain ever that a parent could ever feel for her father and myself and the family. You're looking at it. I want you all to know that Amber was not a statistic. She was loved by a family, a strong family, and we would have done whatever to get my baby, our baby, the help that she needed." And I want to say, like, Nathan Clark, Danielle Clark, because she stood with her husband while he was giving that speech, Shanette Williams, they are non-creeps and they shouldn't have to do this.
Right.
It is fucked up that like they have to like do this, that they have to be so brave, and it's really, really hard what they're doing, so that they have to unpack their trauma for you, for the world, so that we can remember that these are human beings. And there's people like Trump and Vance and Ted Cruz and Matt Gaetz and all these
dudes,
fucking losers. Like, they don't think politics is real. They think it's a game, and they want to win. They think it's football. Like, you need to be on our team and we're going to win. And like, these are real people. And the rhetoric, what you're talking about with the know nothings and all that shit gets people killed.
Yep.
And these people are real people, and they're gone. They're never coming back. And they're like, "I'm sorry." Fuck you. Your apologies mean jack shit. Right. These people are gone, and it is never going to bring back Nathan Clark's son or Shanette Williams' daughter. And it's just fucked up. So that's our non-creep, are the Clark and Williams families.
I'm sorry, Sonia, what was her name again? The woman who died?
Amber Nicole Thurman.
She's based in Atlanta, and they have those draconian laws there, so she couldn't do anything. So she went to North Carolina on a road trip to get the pills, and she got there late because of traffic. So the doctor just gave them to her, and normally they would have you kind of hang out and make, it's like when you get a flu shot or something. They say, sit in the chair for 15 minutes, whatever. They just had to let her go. And it was a rare occurrence where she just still had, and so she needed to be at the doctor to take care of it for her ultimately. And that's, these are things that are happening, and everybody.
It's happening all over the country.
All over the country. Women that are just, that need a DNC so that they can then have the baby they want. Right? Yeah. And they're not allowing it. And then they're becoming infertile. They're having all kinds of issues. And there's some smug douchebag on Trump's team, social media team, who's like, "Hey, I want to hear all of these women that are bleeding out in parking lots."
Oh, that fucking guy.
Ugh.
That guy, he used to work for Donald Trump, he got kicked out of the White House because he couldn't pass the background check because it turned out he had a shit ton of gambling debt. And he was considered a threat, like a national security threat, because they were like, hey, the Russians would approach him and like pay off his debt and like he would owe them.
Right.
And, like, so he got kicked out. And then he started the the right-wing dating site. And all of his videos on TikTok are like, so let me get this straight. Like, white people can't say the N-word, but black people can. Got it. And then he eats something, and like everyone's just trolling that fucking douchebag. He's the fucking worst.
And he loves it. Because it's attention. He doesn't care if it's bad attention.
No, he sucks so hard. But he posted something that was like, who are all these women that are bleeding out that Harris is talking about? And then women are stitching it and they're telling their stories. And again, they shouldn't have to do that. But
no, but also part of the problem is also that we're told that this is such a close race. They're like 2 points apart at this point, and and it's the Electoral College, and they're going to steal something from Kansas if we're not watching. And they create all this drama, and how much is real, how much isn't, I don't know. But it also adds to the agita, and it adds to the aggravation and the urgency, and then people feel like, "Fuck, I got to say something."
Yeah,
because what if he gets elected?
This is how we're gonna get another fucking brawl at a voting site. Like there's going to be, I feel it, like something bad's gonna happen on election day because people are fucking scared. People don't know what's true.
Right.
And it's all dialed up to 11 right now.
He wants a national day for voting, which sounds great, but not everybody can take that day. We have people are disabled. People have jobs where they're, military people are all over the world. I mean, people have I've got a paper ballot. I got a mail-in ballot this year because I don't want to. I mean, New York's not a swing state.
I've done mail-in voting for years.
Yeah.
My voting place is actually really close. I just walk down. I vote. It's great.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
But if you're feeling insecure, definitely see if you can get a mail-in ballot. I mean, definitely call your electors and tell them what your concerns are.
And make sure you're registered too.
Yes, please do that.
They're doing a thing where they, they'll kick you off if you haven't voted in a while, or, well, just because they're shitty.
And then they're shitty.
So,
yeah.
Definitely, like you could go. There's a ton of sites. You could just Google it, and
we put it on our Facebook group too. We posted in our Facebook group. Yeah. So please, if you're American, please, and you're a citizen or legal to vote, please vote.
Please do.
Okay, so let's just change the mood a little bit here.
Yeah.
You and I co-host a show called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. What did we talk about last time?
Bride Wars.
Yep. So
that was a fun one.
That was super fun. And then this week we both needed like serotonin in our heads badly. So we decided to cover
Office Space.
I
believe you have my stapler.
My swing light stapler. No, this is my office. I was told I wasn't going to move anymore.
I was told I could listen to music at a reasonable
volume. We will be quoting the shit out of it.
Yeah, I don't usually like to talk about my flair, but that's what we'll be doing this week on Office Space.
But please come with us with your suggestions for creeps and non-creeps. All those places I mentioned at the top of the show, excuse me. We love to use the Annie Potts GIF. We got one from Ghostbusters as a GIF or whatever. Or just be clever, pick something on your own. Our email, once again, is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And I can't believe, Sonia, I forgot last week to give us our call outs.
Oh,
I'm such a dipshit.
Oops.
So, Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Mastodon, and the TikTok.
You say Mastodon every week. Like, do you really use it? Or I deleted that from my phone right
no,
away.
But I'm there. I might get an email notification if you added me or something. I don't really go there.
Yeah.
But I'm actually most active on like Instagram, TikTok, and our Facebook group.
Yeah.
So go to the Facebook group. Where can people find you, Margot?
I'm at Brooklyn Margot for TikTok and Twitter. And then I am at Brooklyn Fit Chick. That's my site, brooklynfitchick.com. And I'm at Brooklyn Fit Chick for Threads and Instagram. And I'm looking to build my audience there. So if y'all can follow me